Unsyndicated presents Off the Board, the weekly gambling show. Hosted by Blake Majchrzak and Mike Iavasile.
Welcome into Off the Board with Mike Iavasile and myself, Blake Majchrzak. We are very excited for college football week 1. That is to say the least. And I'm just excited to get into it, man. We got another week. We got a full slate of games.
Yeah. And when you get to the NCAA, there's so many games. It's extremely overwhelming for me. It's why I'm way better at NFL. But because of you, for you, Blake, I am going to master my NCAA craft. I'll get this out.
I texted you before the show, and I said I have 18 plays. And you were like, I don't have that many. I feel bad. And I'm like, Mike, I told you, I'm firing on everything. Like I love week 1 more than any other week because I feel very overconfident.
And it's a good week, but if there's anything, because I know we'll jump right into week 0. If there's anything week 0 told us is you can't be confident.
No.
So I'm glad you are.
And that's the thing, the first thing we can kind of talk about coming out of week 0. The biggest thing I noticed was the lack of scoring.
Yeah.
And we saw some scoring in the games from last night, but my thought process is I'm kind of like an unders early in the season.
Yeah, it's one where my uncle was just in and he was telling a story, and I think I've mentioned my uncle to you. He used to live out in Vegas. He actually just moved back in, and he was telling my son the story of when he first moved out to Vegas. I would get a hold of him, and he would be my runner, and he was running bets, and I would bet every bowl game over. That was just my thing. He would just take this money, and he would run it over. And as we started talking, and gets back to your point of the unders, is week 0 is so hyped and so loved, and everybody wants. And what does everybody want to do? Everyone wants points. Everyone wants the over. Handicappers know that. They're cooking that right into the number right there.
Yeah.
And then you add in my complaint before the show, no preseason kind of stuff for the NCAA, that it's just hard to get those games to go over. I mean, some of them will, but the unders are beautiful.
Well, the preseason is basically these FBS versus FCS games. That there, as many good games there are this week, there's about 10 times more of those games, and a lot of teams treat that as preseason.
Yeah, I guess that's how I should look at it. Is like there's those games that look like preseason. They're going to look like those preseason NFL games. Don't touch them. Don't do what I did last week and jump on them. Mistakes were made last week. I'll fess right up to it. So, but yeah, the unders but you made a great point when we were texting the other day about the helmet communication.
I think that's a huge part of it because coaches can communicate with their quarterbacks up until 15 seconds are left in the play clock. So especially in college football, where these guys don't process nearly as quickly as NFL quarterbacks, their coaches are in their ear telling them, hey, watch this hot read. Hey, look for this route because it looks like they're in this cover 2 and stuff like that. So that communication, as it could lead to less turnovers, I still think it slows the games down and slows the pace down.
100%. There wasn't as many as those real early snaps wanting to up the pace and stuff like that. And then my counterpoint to yours was also this is year 2 of not stopping the clock after every first down.
Yeah.
And you add in something like this communication, and it might only take 5, 7, maybe 10 seconds up, but you do that every play, that adds up, and the scores are going to happen. So this week 0, week 1, fire those unders because they'll start. Those numbers are going to start coming down.
And I was reading on Pro Football Focus, there were out of all the week 0 games, before the Hawaii game, because I couldn't watch the Hawaii game because it was on like Spectrum Sports Plus whatever. There was only 2 passes thrown in those games that were deemed like interceptable. Out of all three of those games, there's only 2 that were deemed interceptable. So, and I think only one of them was picked off. So that all that communication, like I said, it could lead to less turnovers. That's for sure.
Yeah, it'll slow the game down, and they'll make better choices, and then we'll have less points.
Yeah. So, and the worst part about week 0 was and I know you were in the same boat as me. We started hot. We started 1-0. We both had the under, and then New Mexico just could not. That game could not have fallen apart worse.
Oh my God, and that's all my fault. I can't apologize more to you for that one. But yeah, I mean, you start out hot like that, and it was just on fire too, because I know you were. I told you I had the quarterback for Georgia Tech, Haynes King, whatever his name. I had him over 50 yards, and every time he went past it, he fumbled the ball. He lost 19 yards there. I think it was in the fourth quarter, and it made it quite a sweat. But yeah, but then again, mistakes were made. If we want to go over the bets, I mean, once I sat down, and I'm sure you do this. I go over whether it's a win or a loss, and I'm like, what did I do? What was the pattern there? And I said it on the show last week. I didn't like any of my picks. I really didn't like them after I looked at the numbers that I was there. But again, we fire. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's all we can do.
Yep, I've got the number.
I'm just never gonna bet on SMU the rest of the season. They could go undefeated, and I'm not gonna bet on them the rest of the season just because of week 0.
Yeah, and that was listening to the talking heads. That was probably out of all of them the most disappointing. I mean, New Mexico's New Mexico. I mean that they weren't even favored in that game. So let's be honest. No. Montana, nice comeback by them. And then Hawaii's the interesting one, and I'm very interested in their game this week. I didn't fire. I'm watching on it. Just too much talk on it. But yeah, when I went back over my numbers and I saw how popular the picks were that I took, I vomited a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like it, but I had action in the games. It got me to watch them. This week, with all the plethora of games, I'm way more fine-tuned into this, and hopefully we come out a little bit brighter.
Yes. So just real quick, because I wanted to start with this pick for tonight's game. We both like Stanford plus the 8.5 against TCU. What are your reasons for that?
Okay. Well, so and as we get going on this, you'll hear me mention people that I will give credit. So I was not looking at this game, but there's someone that I follow closely, Josh Applebaum, and I got my philosophy on betting from him and watching the splits and stuff. So when he did it, I went and looked at the splits. So right now, 48% of the bets, but 67% of the money is on Stanford. That's sharp. That's professional money. That is right in my wheelhouse of what I do. When I get the bets under 50% and the money over 50%, it is an auto bet for me. And on top of that, all you have to say, and you'll hear me say this all year, but like only 48% of the bets are on this team. Why did the line go from 10 to 8.5? That is because of liability, because of the professional bettors. And I put that one, and I rate that one of the higher ones that I have.
And home dog.
Yes, home dog.
Just you can say the most basic thing too. I like it's a home dog. It's a lot of travel for TCU. TCU looked horrible last year. I don't think that they got much better through the portal and their additions. So, and I don't think Stanford's a great team either. But if you can give me more than a touchdown at home for two teams that have a lot of question marks, I'll take it.
Yeah, I think both teams are like expected to win less than 7 games this year. But when you think about something like this, why can we see something and maybe others don't, and why are so many people on the TCU side? It's that recency bias. People remember TCU in the national championship game, and Stanford stunk last year, right? That's what is on their mind, and here comes this line. But again, as we go through and you see the pattern of my betting is finding where those professionals are. They've got way more information than we could ever think of. So we're both on Stanford tonight. So we'll both be sweating a late one. Hopefully the weather cools down. We won't be really sweating too bad.
Yeah, I'll be watching that in the living room for sure, where I have air conditioning, not in the TV room. Like I had all three of my TVs on last night because there was enough games on, and I forgot that TVs are just like space heaters as well.
Oh yeah.
And this room was just it was not comfortable. It was too hot last night. I need fall weather for
Right.
the
Yes.
3 TV system to work really well.
Yeah, and I'm sure it didn't help. I was golfing last night, so I know what it was like outside. And I actually walked off the course before my round was done. I was done with it. I don't do heat well, so
No.
I walked off the course. So I can imagine being somewhere with 3 TVs in this heat too. So
No. So do you want to get into the big games of Saturday?
yeah, let's do the games that we have deemed big ones for week 1.
Look at this. We got
Yeah.
graphics now. Todd's been working his little tail off in the
This is
lab,
so
just
good.
creating things.
It
So
is so good.
it looks awesome. We got beautiful branding. So the first game of I put these in chronological order so that we can kind of hit them in the in the way that they're going to air. So the first game is Clemson at Georgia. It's technically a neutral site game, being played down there at the
BMW.
No, it's Mercedes-Benz. Yeah.
Fancy car.
In Atlanta. Okay, I'll be inappropriate. It's the stadium that looks like a big butthole. The top of it looks like a giant butthole.
I can't wait. I'm going now. Now I'm
going. Georgia's favored by 12.5, and the over-under is 48.5. So Mike, I'll let you go first. What's your play for this game?
So another one here is when I look at it and I see that it's down to 12.5. When I was taking my notes, it was 13.5. So when you look at this right now, 82% of the money and the bets. So this is a very popular bet on Georgia. Again, all that is going on with Georgia. Why does that line move to Clemson? This it's fishy, it's stinky. This is very contrarian, going against the public. I did not put this in. I could see me firing on this because this is something I typically plug my nose and take. But I like Clemson and the points. And when I look at when a line moves like this with that little money, that means the sports books are saying they're taking their stand on what they think is going to happen. They don't care what the public's doing, and they want more money on Clemson. And I'm siding with the books. I'm going to lean. I haven't been taking it. I would lean Clemson in this one.
I would agree with you. I was in the same boat. I was thinking when it was at 13.5, I probably would have bought it to 14. Now that it's at 12.5, I'm like, I'm not going to buy a 1.5 unless I was going to throw it in a parlay or something like that. But the play that I do have on this game is the under. Wait, no, over. Oof. I'm going crazy. I'm trying to look at my notes over here, and the next game is I have an under coming up, but I like the over in this game. I think Georgia's going to come out and score, and I think year 2 in the Riley system for Cade Klubnik will be good for him.
Yeah.
So I think that Clemson can score some, but it's really because I think Georgia's going to put up some points. Carson Beck is awesome.
Yes, and I can see that. I can see Georgia coming out and make it. This is a statement game for whoever wins this game, and it's one of these that we'll have plenty of these on my side where I'm just gonna, like I said, I plug my nose. It's a stinker. I don't know how Clemson gets even close in this game, but I would lean towards Clemson just because that's what the money's telling me.
Here's the other thing, like just outside gambling of it. I feel like Dabo's getting disrespected. And I don't know if you've seen the numbers on Dabo as a dog.
No.
I think he's like 12-1 against the spread as a dog. So I do like Clemson in this spot, but also Georgia could just come out and roll them. Like there's a lot of unknowns it being a week 1 game. That's why I'm just like, hey, I'll just play the over. I think both offenses are going to be better. So, next game, also at noon, we got Penn State at West Virginia, the backyard brawl. I'm very excited to watch this game.
Yes.
I think both of these teams, West Virginia, obviously last year, the season that they had kind of came out of nowhere. And Penn State did the same thing that they always do. They just go 10-2 and lose to Michigan and Ohio State. And they obviously are a team with playoff aspirations. But going on the road week 1, like, I respect them for scheduling this game because West Virginia is not an easy place to play.
Yeah. What did we say earlier? Home dogs, baby, right?
Yeah. And we are both rolling with the home dogs. So
Nelly just showed up too.
West Virginia plus 7.5. We both have it. We both love it.
Yes.
The line's stinky. I almost feel like it should be more. My pick sheet just locked me out for whatever
there
reason.
you go. Well, and the good news is I got it at 8. It's down to 7.5. I got it at 8.5. And a lot of people, if you're listening out there, this is a sneaky money line pick too. If you like, there's people calling for this one, and that's, you get into no one likes Franklin. I mean, let's be honest. He's going to go down here. Something Penn State's going to happen. But for me, 30, another one where I'm always going to take this game. 31% of the bets, but 50% of the money on there. That is sharp money. 31% of the bets, but yet again, we see that line moving towards the dog, getting smaller and smaller. West Virginia all day for me.
Yeah. I'm like, outside of gambling too, like I said, I'm just interested in this game as a football fan. I want to see what Penn State's offense looks like. And West Virginia, like, they just lived in close games last year. So I want to see if they can consistently, like, keep doing that. So at 3:30, we have the battle for Florida. Miami at Florida. Miami is favored by 2.5 on the road. The over-under is 54.5. Before we got into these games too, we were talking about heat. 3:30 at Florida at the Swamp. Like, there's going to be so many players cramping up. Yep. It's just going to be miserable down on that field.
The fourth quarter is going to be a constant whistle for people down in this game. So again, there's a theme to my bets this week, and it's just dogs. I'm on the dog again here. Florida at 2.5. All I'm hearing is about Miami, and this one's a little bit shakier for me because they're only getting 20% of the bets, which I love, but only 27% of the money, and that's just on that threshold that I like. I really like it at 10, so it's actually a little light for me. However, that line hasn't moved. That line's been stuck at 2.5.
Yeah.
If Miami's getting all this money in there, why isn't it going? I love stinky lines. I'm all over it. And with Florida getting 2.5.
See, this one's too stinky for me, but I have to play it because I'm going to watch it. So this was the under that I looked at earlier. I love the under in this game. I think Miami, with all their transfers, we could see a team that's kind of clunky on offense early in the season. And then, like, both these teams have good defensive talent.
Yes.
So I like the under here. Again, it could be a helmet communication thing too, especially with Cam Ward coming in, first game for Miami. He's still learning this offense, everything. I just think under is the play.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty high number. 54.5 is a high number.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when you get into it, we look at if we go back to last week, I was talking about the stability of things. People take Cam Ward or DJ Ungala Bungala Bungala, and they say, oh, they've got experience. That's not a new quarterback. That's a new quarterback in a new system. I'm not expecting much going on there. It's going to take some time.
I don't think people give enough credit for, like, coordinator consistency.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Especially, like, when thinking about these early season games, like, I want the guy that has been in that offense for some time. So, next game, night game,
Yep.
Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is favored by 2.5, and the over-under is 47. I love this pick, actually. This might be my favorite pick of the week. Legitimately. I love A&M in this spot. I'm not like a huge A&M guy, but I'm just not a Notre Dame believer whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I also have the under 47.
Okay, so you got them both. All right.
I got them
So
both.
here comes our first head-to-header. I've got Notre Dame with 42% of the bets, but a whopping 62% of the money. So I would dive onto that one. Now, my problem is, as you hear me talk about line moves, I like that money. Usually, I want that line to move in my favor. This one, due to injuries, as we were talking, has ticked a little bit towards Texas A&M. So I jumped on the 3. I mean 2.5, and it's funny to say 2.5. I might not have, but at 3, I'm going to be leaning over there. And if that jumps up to 3, you'll see me fire on Notre Dame.
Are you in the same boat how I was talking earlier about the Georgia? If it was at 13.5, I would buy it to 14. Are you buy a half a point guy or no?
I am not, but I will look at the money. And if the money's not that bad, because every so often you'll catch a DraftKings or a BetMGM or one of them to where it'll be, let's say that usually the big numbers like 14 and 3, it's going to be a little bit different, but you can catch certain numbers to where it might be a minus 110. You can get it minus 115. You can get a half point, and I'll buy it for that nickel. It just so I don't like it because sometimes they really overcharge for that half point. But you can find some stuff in there for sure.
Especially when it's a football number. Like if it's a 2.5 to 3, 6.5 to 7, moving it like that. Yeah, it does for whatever reason, and they juice that up a little bit, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday night, which I love that there's a Sunday. This is the best part about we got Sunday night football. We have a Monday night football game that's college.
Yeah, USC, Sunday night and no work on Monday.
No, exactly. We get to relax. You get to stay up late that night.
Yes, I do. I might make it past 9 o'clock.
This is a big week for USC at LSU. LSU is favored by 4.5. Over under is 64.5. So,
Mike,
I'll let you go first. You go first.
All right. I fared on USC at the 4.5. It's another one of these. This one's a little bit shaky. 18% of the bets, but 28% of the money. That's that 10% disparity that I do like. That it opened at 6.5. Again, it moved to 4.5. That people are taking USC. The professional guys are taking USC. And this is one where I think we're going to get into it. And I hate talking like this. This is usually where I get myself in trouble. Is I think USC is being disrespected, and I think LSU is being overblown. And so that when I can look at those numbers, and that's why I like this spot for USC. So I fired at 4.5.
I agree with everything you're saying, and I'm on the same. And I like the over.
Okay.
Because I don't believe in either of these defenses. LSU, for whatever reason, just decided, hey, we don't need defensive tackles, even though we really need defensive tackles. Like they, I think, had 4 different D tackles visit from the portal. None of them went there. Wow. And USC, new defensive coordinator, have they learned how to tackle in the offseason? I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't hope so for the Big Ten, but I also hope so for this game.
Right.
LSU lost so much from that team last year. I think that LSU is going to be a more run-heavy offense for sure, which that part I don't love for my over, but you give me 6. If you see a number at 64.5 and these two teams that I don't think can play defense, I'm going to take it. It's just we go back to it. It's a vibes play, and I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to root for points in a solo Sunday night spot. But I really do love USC in the spot. I would consider them on the money line, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah, and right now, for those out there listening, if Blake has a vibe, you better run with it because his vibes were on yesterday.
They were. I did all right yesterday. Todd is asking to join for a programming note. Todd, why don't you come on in?
Yeah. So because Blake made 5 bets and Mike made 3, what we're going to assume is you have $500 to play with. So that means Mike puts his $500 on his 3 bets, and then we'll compare the money afterwards.
Okay, we can.
That sounds great.
If we just want to do that with these, absolutely. I could give you 2 other ones that I have to even out the 500, but I'll take 500 on those 3. I'm good.
Nah, I'm down with that. That's it. We could do like the big 5 games, and then once we get into NFL, we're gonna adjust it. But we can go head to head on those. I'm down for that. We're kind of right. Wait, so actually though, Todd, I have 7 picks.
Yeah, so yours would be split $50 on the under, $50 on the win.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, I like that.
And for future reference, when we're putting our board up, we'll make sure that we all have a play in that board on the board. That way we don't have funky numbers there.
Yeah. And we can say audibly, this is more of a lean than a definite play.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, you could even for the sake of today, you could put my 2 leans up there. I would have no problem with that, and then that way I have 5 up there.
And your 2 leans were Clemson and Notre Dame, correct?
Boom. Yeah,
there it is.
So
I love it.
We can do that, and then we'll have an even 5 up there.
Now Todd's updating the graphic. I still have 7 picks.
That's all.
I'm addicted. I'm addicted to picking games. I love it.
It is. It's so good. I mean, I cannot during the football season. I can't tell you how excited I get to work an hour early Monday morning and start throwing numbers around. Like it is so awesome. And I sent you the picture of my how
your sheet is like it's so old school. I love it. So like I have mine on like a Google Doc. I have like little notes next to it. You're just like all. You know what I did do though? After you talked about it last week, that app that you said you hated, what was it called? Juice Reel?
Oh, Juice Reel. Yeah. Well, I don't hate it. I don't trust it.
I downloaded it and I love it. I love that it's like a little like stock ticker.
Yes,
it's so cool. I just like anything that because in the past I would just use one book, and I would just I didn't have a bunch of books on my phone. This year I'm using 3 different ones. I'm just because the thing is nowadays, like I'm getting all these emails and all this stuff for like, bonus bets, and you get the profit boost and all that stuff. Like I want that from all of them, so I might as well just use them all, and it's just gonna help me in the long run. I might as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now that's what I was running with 3 for a while. I felt I had better success with just the 2. 3 got a little messy with me, but I think having one's a mistake. You have to have at least 2, because I can't tell you how many times I've caught good lines because going back and forth between the 2.
Yeah.
Because money hits one when you go to bet it, and it hasn't hit the other one quite yet, and you can get yourself a good half point on a lot of things. So I love having at least 2.
That's what I use. There's a website that I use called Action Network. Yeah. And they have the lines from all the books. So you can like see live lines from all of them and kind of hand select which one, and it'll give you like what book has the best line and all that. So it's all that's the beauty of where we're at now in gambling is there's so many tools at your disposal to make you're not going to be a better gambler, but you're going to be more informed.
Old people are dumb.
100%. 100%.
Old people are dumb. Shout out Sean. Todd, I'm taking the picks off so that we can get in the rest of these. All right. So back to our beautiful faces.
Yes.
So what other games? Because like I said, I have a lot.
Yep.
what games, like, give me your next best pick that you're really into for this week.
Ooh, all right. Well, so my next favorite pick, because I've got the 3 up there. I mean, I could just troll you with my Fresno State pick, but that's not one of my favorite picks.
And it's a
I'm
bad
gonna
pick.
go with-
It's a bad pick.
like,
It is. They're not going
eight-
to. This isn't Blake. This is. I have my maize and blue glasses off.
right.
They aren't going to score. How do they block Michigan?
So this is where that I see. This is why we're good, because that's how you go about it. Then I go about it knowing that, but yet I look at 18% of the bets, 39% of the money, very contrarian. That line should be all over moving towards Michigan. It was frozen at 21.5, dropped to 21 today, and the trend has been going for the under in that game. So if that under is going to hit, 21 points is my friend. So yes, they could get shut. So that's kind of how I looked at that. Is not my favorite one up there. If the one I auto fire on would be UMass against EMU. I took UMass on the money line because they went from dog to favorite. The dog to favorite is professional money that does that. Joe Blow does not do that. So I'm going to automatically fire on that. But sometimes if I could have caught it at 1, I might have taken it at the -1, but it bumped a little bit. So I've got them on the money line. And I really like that.
UMass should never be favored in a football game.
Ever.
That's 100% a fact. They're one of the worst football programs ever to have a Division I program. They're horrible.
They might make New Mexico look good.
I think that's a game later in the season, and I can't. I promise you, I will have a play in that. You stay tuned. Blake will have a play in UMass, New Mexico, because I think they're both independents. No, New Mexico's in. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, go ahead.
New Mexico's in the Mountain West. New Mexico State's independent. That's what it is.
All right. So, what's your next best one there, 18 bet guy?
That was actually my favorite one, but we can talk about this one. It's a game we kind of touched on earlier. I love Hawaii plus the 14 at home against UCLA.
So about that game, so that's on my. I was leaning, I was looking, I had it, I was tracking it, and then I scratched it off. I scratched it off because I felt the move that was happening in that game wasn't money related, wasn't football related. It was bad press conference related, to where as soon as that press conference aired, that line moved.
Yeah.
And so that's the only reason, because 39% of the bets, 69% of the money, that's something that I would usually go after. But the move that was happening towards Hawaii, I don't think that's what influenced it. It's ticked a little bit back, but I agree with you, but it was one that I scratched off.
That's a tough, that's a lot of travel, even for a West Coast team. That's a long flight. And I don't understand why a big time D1 program would ever schedule that game. I don't get it.
It's a trip to Hawaii.
Yeah. Well, but for what?
Right.
To risk losing?
Right, exactly. Do you think Hawaii's game last week had anything to do with not showing too much before the big bad Bruins come in?
That's probably true. And Delaware State probably was pissed off after how you said all they went, because we talked about that game last week. You were like, everything they went through, there's no way that they show up. Also, though, how angry are you after bad travel?
Oh, how angry am I after driving 5 minutes from my house?
Exactly. So bad travel just pissed them off, and they probably came out swinging. Yeah, but I agree. Hawaii probably was just let's just get in here and get out. There's no point.
They were lucky to get away with the win, but they did. So let's see another one here. This would be mine right after the UMass one is going to be Colorado State plus 32.5, even though I'm kicking myself because I think it's up to about 34 or 35 right now. So I'm missing some points.
Let me check. Go ahead. Keep talking. Why do you like it?
Again, 37% of the bets, 75% of the money, and that line ticked down towards Colorado State. The line only happens because professional gamblers are there. And listening to a lot of people, they're not. A lot of people aren't too high on Texas. There's not a lot of Texas love out there, and they believe Colorado State, with what they have, can keep this game within 4 touchdowns. I mean, lose by 28. Go ahead, I win.
Yeah, I mean, there's some 33.5, 34s out there, definitely.
Okay. So I lost.
I like the over in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think Texas is really, really good. Like, I think that they will be playing for the SEC championship. I think their offensive line is one of the 3 best in the country. Like, when we talk about Michigan, Texas next week, that's my biggest fear for Michigan, like as a Michigan fan in that game. Texas is one of 3 teams in the country that can legitimately block Michigan. That's how good their offensive line is, that good and that deep.
Okay.
I really like this Texas team, and I think that they're going to put up points.
Okay. Now, with that, we talked about, and you brought up the injury in Notre Dame. Texas has had some big injuries also. Do you see that impacting them at all?
I do, but I think that Texas is a deeper team than Notre Dame. They recruit, like Notre Dame recruits at a very good level, don't get me wrong, but Texas is like another step up from that because it's a lot easier to get kids into Texas than it is Notre Dame. Private school versus state school.
Yep.
So Notre Dame may get the same level of athlete, but they can't get them at the same amount of them, you know?
Right.
So but like I said, I like the over in that game. I do think Colorado State can score a little bit, especially Texas is breaking in new defensive linemen. They lost both of their first round talent D tackles from last year. So I think that they won't have as good of a push up the middle, and that could affect them, especially in SEC play. But I'm an experienced quarterback on Texas and the weapons that he's going to have. I think that they're going to put up points. I personally would lean Texas in that game, but 33.5 is too many points. If it was more like 27, 28, I would probably be taking Texas.
Okay.
So,
and I've got one of these picks that again, I didn't put it up there in the top, but I love it just because I don't know who's watching this game and I don't know who's betting on this game. But I took Sam Houston getting 10 against Rice.
I love it. That's a sick game. That is a sick game. I love it so much.
But that is one. So as I tell you on Mondays, I've got to start getting better on Sunday mornings, getting those first numbers for the NCAA. But it's just automatic. Like when I get there and I sit down and I'm looking at my splits and I've got 45% of the bets, 65% of that money, and the line moved from 12 to 10 towards Sam Houston, that's a Mike bet. It's just going to happen every time. I don't care.
It's an auto fire.
Versus anyway, I am auto firing on numbers like that.
The only problem I have with Sam Houston is they don't know how to spell Bearcats. They spell it with a K, and that really pisses me off. I don't know if you knew that.
Okay.
So that's just Blake's dumb brain knowing shit like that. But okay, Rice is not like Rice is another one like we talked about with UMass. Rice shouldn't be favored in football games. I know that they're a better team than Sam Houston, like talent-wise, everything, but like Rice football is not. They shouldn't be favored by double digits. That's for damn sure.
Oh God, no. That I'm sure that goes a lot into where that money went. So, what are some other ones that you have?
Okay, so I wanted to ask you about one because I think it's another very stinky line. very stinky. I saw this earlier and I was like, what is this line? Oklahoma State is favored by 9.5 against San Diego State or South Dakota State. Sorry. 9.5.
When is that game? Do
That's
you
a
have
very.
that up there?
Let me look.
I'm trying to find it on my.
It's just that 9.5 for a team that a lot of people think are going to compete for the Big 12.
Yeah. Huh. I can't find it. But 9, that's a. Why can't we find it?
I don't know.
Technical
South
difficulty.
Dakota. Now, what the hell? Where is it? I just saw it earlier. Because I was like, I saw it and I was like, this line's stinky. Now I'm literally going through every single game.
And there's 10. That's the only problem with football, and that's why, like, with NCAA football, I've got to weed things out so fast, or you just get overwhelmed with how much there is. I can't find it.
Maybe did I like see something that I didn't see? What the hell? This game just disappeared. It's not even here.
Yeah, I don't have. I've got nothing. I've got nothing on it to.
No, it's at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Yeah,
It's at 2 p.m. tomorrow, so it'd be up.
2 p.m. tomorrow.
Oh, now I got it right here. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Tim.
Yep.
Yeah, but that line is stinky. Yeah.
So stinky.
Okay.
So if Blake was to make that line, what would you make that line, Blake?
At least 17 and a half. But that's but I was just shocked by that spread seems way too close for an FCS FBS game against a Big 12 favorite.
Yes, and you are on. A lot of people are on this one. Oklahoma State's very popular at that number. They're getting 82% of the bets, 80% of the money. So there's a lot of people.
Only 50. I'm looking at this now. The public betting only 56% of the bets though.
See, where I'm getting it is got 82%
of the money, right?
Yep, of the money.
Okay, but I'm saying
bets.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have?
It's a weird line, dude. I don't know.
That is it's very weird. And if there's one thing we're learning is that these teams coming in, this San Diego, they're South Dakota, they're coming in a little bit hotter. They're coming in and they're covering these numbers too. So they've got to cook that into it. That would be one where I would look, like, just for me, looking at the numbers of it all, I would run from that one. Sometimes you have to run from stinky.
It's so stinky. It's so stinky. I'm gonna end up playing it. It's so easy. It has to work, right? I'm getting less than 2 touch. Yeah. Virginia Tech at Vanderbilt. I like Vandy in this spot. It's 13.5. I would buy it to 14. But there's a lot of people really high on Virginia Tech this year. They got their quarterback coming back. I love how Todd's just changing what's under our names. Sometimes runs from stinky lines. Heart's a stinky line.
Rainbow Warrior earlier. But yeah, there's Virginia Tech in the playoff talk.
There's Virginia Tech to win the ACC, which obviously they would be in the playoff. I don't understand it. And it's at Vanderbilt. I know that's not a great home field advantage, but it's still travel. It's not a lot of travel because Virginia to Tennessee is not that far. But I like Vanderbilt in the spot. I don't know what it is.
I can get that one.
I'm going to not watch this game, and I'm just going to assume it's a win. Akron at Ohio State over 57.5. I think Ohio State will probably score that many points on their own.
Yes. So I actually, as we start wrapping things up, I've got some trend. I'm always going to try to throw trends to see if I can get anybody out there that wants to bite on them, or see if I can get you to bite on them. And that game is not only part of a trend, Blake, but is part of a huge trend that I think I can get some people to bite on.
Okay. What is it? Lay it on me. I love it.
Lay it on you. Since 2013, week 1, favorites of 37.5 or more are 14-0, hitting at a clip of 100%. And there's 2 games. One of them's that Ohio State game. They're favored by 48.5, and I'm watching one right now, and Oklahoma's up 34, but Oklahoma was favored by 42.5 at one point. So those 2 teams hit both of that, but that is a 100% trend, so it's got to hit.
That's free money, basically.
Free money. So it looks like it's going to hit. It looks like it's going to hit today in the Oklahoma game. Too late, but that's got to be out there. That Ohio State minus 48.5 is part of a 100% hit trend.
The problem is I have this thing on my phone. It does not allow me to bet for Ohio State. It just doesn't let me. I don't know. It's blocked. It does that. If I do it, it just doesn't let me. So that's why I'm like, I'll just take the over and I'll root for Akron to score once. That's all I need. Because I honestly think that's it. I mean, I will, now that you've said that, I'm going to play it. I wish you had told me that before the Oklahoma game. That would have been nice information. But
one of those where my brain didn't tell me that the Oklahoma game was today until I was watching it.
Okay. I'll fire through a couple more of these real quick. Right. Nevada at Troy. Nevada should have beaten SMU. So I'm going to take Nevada plus the 9.5.
Okay.
Idaho at Oregon over 62.5. It's the same thing as the Ohio State game. I just think that they're going to they could put up that many points on their own.
And Oregon does that.
Yes. And especially with Oregon, they're breaking in a new quarterback, Dylan Gabriel. He's already getting like Heisman hype.
Yep.
He could probably stay in that game a little longer too, because they got to get some continuity going with that offense before they hit Big Ten play. So I like that over a lot. Fresno State at Michigan. We talked about this. I love Michigan in this spot.
Okay.
It's a banner night. 20.5. It's if I can get it at 20.5, if it gets past that, I understand what you were saying, but it's a banner night. They're hanging a banner. You take the team on banner night. Chiefs week 1, they could be playing anyone. They won the Super Bowl. I'm taking them on banner night.
I love it. Love it. All right.
I don't need a reason. It's a banner night.
Yep. That works. That works for me.
But you said that there's a lot of money on the under, right?
Yeah, that's trending towards the under.
45.5 is the number.
It's a night game, so I got to scroll down here for a second. And I've got because that is a daddy special with 31% of the bets and 73% of the money on that under.
Okay.
That is a professional under there.
I used to have a theory about Michigan home overs. Hearts a daddy special. God, you're on one tonight. Michigan used to, I swear, they would go for overs at home, especially in these types of spots, because it makes boosters happy.
Oh,
does.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know how Fresno's going to score. If there's one thing I'm confident in, it is Michigan's defense, and especially their defensive line. They got 2 guys on the defensive line that could be top 5 picks. Yeah, and that's not Homer Blake. That's just me being real. So I don't know how Fresno's going to score on them. Watch, they're going to put up like 21, and I'm just going to be completely wrong about this. But and then the other 2 games that have to do with week 0 games that I like. Give me Georgia State plus 21 at Georgia Tech.
Yep.
There's never been more of a come down spot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and
The-
that's recency bias. That line, that if they don't win that game, that line's nowhere near that.
No, not even close. And not that Georgia State is some like great team, but Tim, did the Notre Dame line move a bunch? Is that what you're saying? See Notre Dame line? Now I have to look. Somebody just says something in the chat and I get distracted. Oh, it is moving a little bit. It's at 3 now.
There we go. That's the number I said, right?
Are we moving lines on the show right now?
That's what I just heard. Well, that's I think they moved it just to steal my money.
That's true.
Because that is what I said. I said if I could see that get to 3, that would be a play for me. So if it's going to get to 3, maybe it gets to 3.5. So this is where I just sit and I let it marinate for a little bit.
And then the other one that has to do with week 0, I actually like Florida State minus the 16.5. I'm ready to get hurt again by DJ Uiagalelei.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Hey, I'll give you all the props to that one, and wish you the best of luck. I wouldn't touch that. That I don't. They could come out and murder them. They really could. But what we saw last week, that was not good. That was not good. I don't know who was more unimpressive to me, Florida State in that loss or Colorado in that win.
Okay. Dion, that game last night, just real quick, was the most frustrating football game. The first half, they couldn't tackle. Colorado could not tackle, but they were scheming guys wide open. Like,
yes,
WTF open.
Yep.
But then in the third quarter, Colorado remembered how to tackle, but then they forgot how to scheme guys open.
Yep.
It was the most. I had Colorado on the team total over. I think it was like 34.5. I felt so good about it, and it was just never going to hit.
Yep.
I can't believe the over hit.
I can't believe that I did not mush that one in the first quarter. I had a text written out like, oh, damn, I'm so pissed I didn't take that over with you. But I deleted it. I said, no way. That first quarter looked like it was going to be out of control. But that Colorado, that was everything that went wrong last year after they had that hot start. And every bad game they had looked just like that.
Yeah. Dion's not a good coach. He's just not a good coach. He's a hype guy. That's great. He's going to get people's eyeballs on Colorado. He's not a good recruiter, and he's not a good football coach. So, whatever.
Not at all.
And then
I'm with you on that one.
I pushed on I don't know if I told you this. I pushed on a parlay last night because of that Minnesota kick. I had Minnesota +2 in a parlay. And the under in that game, which was never in doubt. Like, that was the easiest under I might have all year. I had that. I had Minnesota, I had the under, and then it was a 4-leg. So I still won it technically because of the push. But yeah, I really wanted Minnesota to make that field goal. But I was texting Sean about it during the game. And he's like, you know how this is going to end. I'm like, yeah, it's fine if it ends as long as it's within 2 points. Like, don't score a touchdown. Yeah.
All right.
Well, we have a lot of action. We have a lot of action for tomorrow.
We have a lot of action. I've got 2 more that, again, back deck, beer's going. I can see me firing on it. I'm just sitting and waiting because you had mentioned the Nevada. I've got circled the UNLV +1.5 against Houston. It's got my splits 21-55, but the line kind of moved the wrong way on me a little bit. I like one-way movement when it goes towards my team. If it starts ticking back the other way, it ticked a little bit back towards Houston, meaning that another sharp bettor kind of came in and got some money in on that. That makes me it scares me a little bit. But if that line gets back up, I could see me taking that one. And another one with who's watching what, Charlotte +7 against James Madison. James Madison's a darling. A lot of people talk. A lot of people like him.
Their whole roster is on Indiana, though. Their entire, like, I'm not joking. Their whole roster went with Signetti, which was the coach at JMU last year. They all went with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. They should not be favored by that many points. I still think they should be favored because Charlotte lost a lot too. And I believe their head coach is former Michigan assistant Biff Poggi, which is just a great name. But they have a bunch of guys out too because I just saw a clip of this last night. He said it was for injuries. They lost a bunch of guys in camp. It's rumored that they just had to suspend a bunch of guys for like stuff, but he came out and said it was for injuries. But I don't know. But JMU should not be favored by that many points in that spot. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, the only thing that shook me on it, and I'll see how my early games go, is that I also have a cutoff of 2.5 points. I hate losing a field goal, and that line moved over 3 points, and I was like, I missed that lines. But those are two other ones that I'll be looking at. But I think we've got a lot going on.
We have a lot. We're gonna see who does better in our 5 picks of the week, which will be very exciting. And then next weekend, next weekend we have. I mean, we got NFL, so it's just gonna be even more. There's gonna be so much. We're gonna have. We'll do the same competition too, Todd, for NFL picks. So, are you cool with that, Mike?
Yep, 100%.
Perfect. So we appreciate everyone watching, everyone listening. We hope everyone does well with their week 1 bets. Todd, thank you so much for everything you do on the back end. And Mike, good luck, man. No mushing picks this week, all right?
No, I'm not. I almost did it. I am not doing it. I get a little excited, but I know what happened.
All right. And you have been listening to Off the Board.
And you're still listening.
Old people are dumb.